Hey guys, Jay here with Word of Advice TV. My sister just bought a new dryer and it's natural gas, but she needs it in liquid propane. She went online and ordered a conversion kit before she even noticed that there was a bag behind the dryer with the conversion kit provided. The one she ordered does look a little bit different, even though it's for this model. So I'm gonna go with the one that came with the dryer, but if for some reason it's not working, then we can try this one. But of course, if you need to do a job like this, make sure you have the conversion kit before you get started. The dryer that I'm working on is a GE, but different brands will have a similar procedure. With this model, the first thing I do is open the front door and take out the two long screws, Phillips screws in the front. After you take out the two screws in the front, you can pop the top off just a little bit. The manufacturer recommends taking the back screws off as well, but in order to do that, you have to take apart some wires and you have to take apart the back panel. I don't like to do that if I don't have to. So what I like to do is prop the top open with something, just a little bit. You don't want to bend it too much because then you're going to bend the metal in the back. Just this much is enough. And then you can either use a crescent wrench or an angled bit holder, which is what I like to use, to get the two screws out right underneath the lid. This square bit is the one that I need for my dryer, and I like to use the short ones just so I have more room. And let's go ahead and take those screws out. After getting those little screws out, you can now pull the whole front off like that. We can close the door. And this here is another part where most videos will tell you to disconnect wires in order to take this whole thing off. That's another thing that I don't really like to do. Most videos will tell you to disconnect these wires. And if you want, you can feel free to do so. But like I said before, if I don't have to disconnect something, I prefer not to. So I leave these on, and then I go ahead and lift this whole front panel up to get it off these metal tabs on the bottom. And then you simply swivel this whole front panel out of the way, leaving the wires connected. I just push it a little bit behind the dryer itself and lean it right back onto it. Just make sure you don't hit it and this thing falls over as you're doing this. So here is our gas valve. That's where we're going to be replacing the orifice on. Liquid propane has a higher pressure, so basically all we're doing is restricting the flow a little bit more. So the natural gas orifice, the little hole, is bigger than this. We're going to replace this with a smaller one to restrict the flow to compensate for the higher pressure. I'm going to start by taking the burner out, which is held in there by 3 screws. Once the screws are out, if you get lucky, you should be able to slide this thing right off. But in my case, I actually have to take this whole burner assembly out before I can slide this burner off of that orifice. Which means that I'm going to be taking this whole bracket out, which is held in there by 4 screws, 2 on each side. All right, I got the 4 screws out. Now let's see how far I'm going to be able to pull this assembly out. Oh, looks like not far enough. So I'm going to have to disconnect these plugs from the gas valve coils. Both of these plugs are different, so they can only go in one way. Don't really need to take a picture of these before taking them off. Now that's going to give me more room to pull this assembly out. There you go. Now that we got the burner past the burner tube, now I should be able to swivel it up and pull it off that orifice. There it goes. And here is our burner. With the burner out, we can go ahead and take out the orifice using an adjustable crescent wrench. Usually once you get it started, you can just fully unthread it with your fingers. And by the way, one thing that I should really mention is that the igniter, the thing that lights the gas, this thing is really fragile. So if you accidentally hit it while you're doing all this, it probably will shatter. So as you're taking apart everything and changing out the orifices, make sure you don't hit that igniter, otherwise it can break. Here is the orifice that I just took out. This is the natural gas. And here is the propane. See the difference? The one for propane is twice smaller than the one for natural gas. So I'm going to go ahead and put the propane one in. And then after this, we only have one more thing to do, and we're done with the conversion. It's really that simple. once you have it finger tight, just snug it up with the wrench. You don't need to go ham on it, just so it's nice and snug. That was about another quarter turn after finger tight. So that's sitting in there pretty good. The last thing we need to do is adjust the regulator vent cap. There's two different kinds of gas valves. One gas valve will have a gas valve coil that is one piece, like this. And there's other gas valves that have separate gas valve coils. It'll be two pieces. So if yours is like mine, your cap is going to be fixed. And if your gas valve coils are separate, then you're going to have a little cap on here that you will need to adjust or take out and replace completely. If you refer to the conversion manual that comes with the kit, it'll show you exactly what you need to do. I have the fixed cap and it's super easy to adjust. If you look over here, you see LPG, that's liquid propane gas, and then there's NG for natural gas. Right now it's set to natural gas. All I need to do is spin this whole wheel or cap into the natural gas position. The best way to do this is to use a needle nose pliers. Just stick them in there and hold them down firmly and spin counterclockwise until it goes into the LG position. Just like that. And that's it. All we need to do now is put this all back together the same way we took it out and we're done. Once again, a reminder about the igniter. As you're putting the burner back in, make sure you don't smack that igniter and break it. As you're sliding the burner assembly back in, make sure that the bracket holding the gas pipe goes into that little slot in the back. When you're putting the front panel back on, push the drum up slightly and then push the front in. Like that. You should hear a little snap on the right side and the left side as you're putting the front panel back on. Putting it together is always harder than taking it apart, so when you're putting the panels back on, sometimes you do have to clamp it with your hand and hold it, otherwise the screw will pop right back out. Makes it a little bit tricky. Yes, we got it in. And that is how you do it. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments below. And if you're still here and not in the comment section below, let me tell you about a group of scientists that got together to study the effects of alcohol on people's walks. The results were staggering. And just to try something new, I also ordered a book on Amazon called How to Scam. It's already been 6 months. I sure hope it arrives soon.